Ever feel like you're just swimming upstream, like constantly battling to just get ahead? What if I told you there's a whole different way, a more effortless way to kind of achieve your goals and actually find contentment?
Okay, I'm intrigued. Tell me more.
Well, that's exactly what we're diving into today.
Yeah.
The art of, get this, not trying.
Not trying. Okay, that sounds kind of paradoxical, doesn't it?
Right. But that's the beauty of what we're looking at, Taoism. It challenges this modern obsession with always striving and being in control and offers a totally different perspective on, just navigating life and all its complexities.
So we're talking about this philosophy, Taoism, as like a way to align yourself with the natural flow of the universe.
Exactly. What the Taoists call the Tao.
I like it. Sounds like we could all use a little more going with the flow in our lives.
Right. So instead of constantly pushing and forcing, it's about, how do I put it? It's about finding a way to move with the current.
Okay, I'm with you so far. So where do we find this wisdom about going with the flow?
We're tapping into some ancient wisdom here. From texts like the Tao Te Ching and the Zhuangzi.
Wow, those are some old texts. Are we talking ancient scrolls and cryptic verses?
Think of it like unearthing these ancient life hacks, but for the modern world.
I love that. Ancient life hacks. So what's one of these hacks that we can apply to our lives today?
Well, one of the most powerful concepts we're going to unpack is this idea of Wu Wei. It's often translated as effortless action.
Effortless action. I'm not sure I'm following.
Okay, you know those moments, right, when you're just completely in the zone, like you're totally absorbed in what you're doing and everything just flows.
Oh, yeah. Like when I'm completely dialed into my work and it feels, I don't know, almost easy.
Exactly. That's Wu Wei in action.
But those moments, they're kind of rare, right? I mean, you can't just expect to slip into the zone whenever you feel like it, or can you?
That's where the whole non-doing part of Wu Wei comes into play. And this is where it gets really interesting.
Non-doing. Okay, now you're really going to make me think.
It's not about being passive, right? It's more about understanding that sometimes the absolute best action you can take is to actually let go of control.
So you're saying that our constant striving, our need to control everything, might actually be what's holding us back.
Exactly. It's like trying to force a square peg into a round hole.
Yeah.
It just doesn't work.
Okay, I can see that. But how do we actually apply this non-doing to our everyday lives, especially in a world that seems to value constant striving and, always being on?
That's the million-dollar question, right? And the video we're diving into highlights 3 really common traps that we often fall into, and we're going to unpack all 3.
Let's do it. I'm ready to hear about these traps. All right, so trap number 1, trying to improve the world.
Okay, yeah. I mean, it's natural to want to make the world a better place, right?
Sure. But the Taoists, they have this interesting take on it. They'd say we need to be careful about just imposing our ideas of better on everyone else.
Ooh. Yeah, I can see how that could be a recipe for disaster.
Yeah.
Like, we all know that one friend, right? The one who's always got the best intentions, but they always seem to stir up more trouble than they solve.
Totally. And the video we're looking at, it actually uses a story from this Wangzi to kind of illustrate this, about a guy named Yan Hui wants to go to this neighboring kingdom, right? Ruled by this supposedly incompetent leader, and his big plan, fix the whole country, obviously.
Oh boy, I can already see this going sideways.
Yeah, it doesn't go well. Confucius, his teacher, actually tries to warn him off, saying, look, people don't always like it when you waltz in with your ideas, even if you mean well. He basically says that real change comes from within, not some outside force.
That's a good point. It's a good reminder that sometimes the best way to help is actually to just be there, offer support, maybe not jump in with solutions. So if fixing the world is trap number 1, what's the next one we got to watch out for?
All right, this one's a biggie, and I'm going to go out on a limb here and say I think we all fall into this trap. Trying to be happy.
Oh, well.
Yeah?
You got me there. The never-ending quest for happiness. It's like a full-time job.
Right, but the Taoists, they offer this radical perspective shift. They're basically saying this whole chasing after happiness thing, it might actually be the thing that's keeping it just out of reach.
Wait, so we're accidentally sabotaging our own happiness. Now that's just cruel.
It's tough to hear, right? But think about it. We're constantly bombarded with these messages. Get the wealth, get the status, get that perfect Instagram feed. Those are the keys to the happiness kingdom.
And yet you look around and you see all these people who seem to have it all, and they're miserable.
Exactly. The Tao Te Ching even talks about this. Listen to this. This is what the world honors: wealth, eminence, long life, a good name. This is what the world finds happiness in. A life of ease, rich food, fine clothes, beautiful sights, sweet sounds. Like, that's the recipe, right?
Right, so what's the problem?
The problem is, just like the Taoists figured out centuries ago, that those pursuits, they often lead to even more stress, more striving. And you know what you end up with? A whole lot of emptiness.
So how do we escape that? How do we, like, stop chasing those external rewards and actually find that contentment within ourselves?
The Taoists would say it starts with changing our focus, like shifting from always chasing those fleeting pleasures to actually cultivating a sense of inner peace.
So less about the externals and more about what's going on inside.
Exactly. It's about aligning ourselves with the Tao, that natural flow of life, instead of constantly swimming against the current.
Okay, that sounds amazing in theory,
Hmm.
but, like, is that even possible in this crazy, chaotic world we're living in?
It's a practice, not a quick fix. Which brings us actually to the third trap, trying to be something you're not. And this one, man, it hits hard in this age of social media.
Oh, yeah.
We are bombarded with images of how we should look, how we should be living, who we should be. It's exhausting.
Ugh, don't even get me started. The comparison game is brutal.
The video uses this great fable from the Zhuangzi to make this point. It's about a centipede, a snake, and the wind all jealous of each other, right? They want what the other one has, totally missing the point that they're each perfectly made for their way of being.
We get so caught up in wanting what other people have, the talents, the possessions, even just their, like, perceived happiness, we completely lose sight of our own unique gifts.
Exactly. And it's a trap, you know? It's that whole comparison is the thief of joy thing, keeps us stuck in that cycle of never feeling good enough instead of just appreciating who we are and what we bring to the table.
So we've got these three traps. Trying to fix the world, trying to chase down happiness, and trying to be someone we're not. Honestly, it's kind of a lot. Like, everywhere you turn, there's another message that goes against these Taoist principles. So if we're not supposed to be striving and controlling and comparing, then what are we supposed to be doing?
That, my friend, is the million-dollar question. And lucky for us, the Taoists, they offer some pretty practical advice. It all boils down to this: aligning ourselves with the Tao, the natural order of things. Finding that sweet spot between effort and ease, action and non-action.
So it's about finding that balance point, that middle ground where things just, like, flow. Tell me more, tell me more. Finding that middle ground, that balance. It sounds amazing, but, like, how do we actually do that, in our real lives? When there's so much pressure, so much noise, so much going on, how do you tap into that effortless flow?
Well, that's where these two, like, really key Taoist concepts come in: the middle path and fasting of the heart.
Okay, those sound intense. In a good way. I'm here for it. The middle path. What is that all about?
Okay, picture this. You've got this tightrope walker, right? They don't stay balanced by, like, clinging to one side, do they?
No way. They'd fall right off.
Exactly. It's all about finding that perfect center, that equilibrium. And that's what the middle path is all about. It's about applying that same idea to our lives, not going to extremes, not getting stuck in these rigid ideas about how things should be.
So more like flexibility,
Yeah.
being open to different possibilities,
Yeah,
instead of, getting locked into one way of thinking.
you got it. It's about recognizing that life, it's full of these paradoxes, right? And sometimes the best way to move forward is to actually just let go of control and just trust that natural flow of events.
Okay, I think I'm starting to get it a
Mm.
little bit. But what about fasting of the heart? What's that all about?
All right, this one's a little harder to explain, but it's super profound. Think of it like this. It's like you're hitting the refresh button on your mind.
Ooh, I like that.
It's about letting go of all the preconceived notions, the limiting beliefs, even the need to be right all the time. It's about being open, curious, approaching the world with, like, a beginner's mind.
Hitting the refresh button. I love that image. Like, we're just clearing out all that mental clutter to make space for, new insights, new perspectives.
Exactly. And the video even talks about how to actually do this fasting of the heart. Practices like meditation, mindfulness, or even just like spending time in nature. Anything to help you disconnect from all that noise and stimulation so you can reconnect with that inner stillness.
So it's finding those moments of, like, non-doing amidst all the doing, creating that space to just be,
Yeah.
to reflect, to contemplate.
You got it. And the coolest part, the more you cultivate that inner stillness, the easier it becomes to, like, navigate all those curveballs life throws at you with grace, with ease. It's not that your problems disappear, but it's like how you relate to them totally shifts.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So how does that look in real life?
Well, you become more adaptable, more resilient, more able to flow with, whatever life throws your way instead of constantly fighting against the current.
So it's like tapping into this inner source of, like, wisdom and strength. That was always there. We just had to clear out the junk to find it.
Beautifully put. And the really amazing thing is, as we start to embrace these Taoist principles, it's not just us that benefits, right? It impacts everything, our relationships, our work, even how we interact with, like, the world around us.
Wow. So by cultivating that inner peace, that inner harmony, we have the power to actually make the world a better place.
It's a ripple effect. And that's what's so inspiring about this whole art of not trying, It's an invitation to approach life with more trust, more ease, and to be open to all the detours, all the surprises. Because you know what? Sometimes the best stuff happens when we let go of the need to control everything.
As we wrap up here, I'm struck by this thought. What if we're not supposed to have all the answers? What if we don't have to have it all figured out? What if, like, the journey itself is the destination?
That's a powerful question to sit with. And you know what? Maybe, just maybe, the answers will reveal themselves. Not by striving and forcing, but just by being, by breathing, and by trusting that everything is unfolding exactly as it should.
I love that. An invitation to embrace the art of not trying, to find joy in the journey, and trust that sometimes the greatest achievements happen when we just surrender to the flow. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive, and until next time, may you find moments of effortless flow in your own life.